In the realm of cinema, certain works defy convention, challenging audiences to confront the depths of human depravity and social decay. One such film is Salò, or The 120 Days of Sodom, directed by the visionary Italian filmmaker Pier Paolo Pasolini. Released in 1975, Salò stands as a stark testament to the power of cinema to provoke, disturb, and ultimately enlighten. Set against the backdrop of fascist Italy during the World War II, Pasolini's cinematic masterpiece unveils a harrowing tale of power, corruption, and moral decay. Salò is a scathing critique of authoritarianism and the abuse of power, drawing parallels between the atrocities depicted on screen and the horrors of contemporary society. Through its unflinching portrayal of violence, degradation, and exploitation, Pasolini challenges viewers to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature and societal structures. Welcome back to another analysis, and join me as we embark on a journey into the heart of darkness, dissecting the themes, symbolism, and controversies surrounding Pasolini's Salò, or the 120 Days of Sodom. Through critical examination and scholarly insight, I'm seeking to unravel the layers of meaning embedded within this cinematic masterpiece. I am no filmmaker, however. I am no film analyst. I am a scholar of literature and philology, and I will look into this film through these lenses. So, unlike language, film lacks a codified system, a grammar, a clearly defined syntax, and is more effective as a oniric vision than as a medium for conveying complex ideas. Literature, on the other hand, is bound by the strictures and structures of hundreds of linguistic rules. Despite facing significant criticism in his era, Pasolini now appears to have anticipated key aspects of post-structuralist thought and the condition of postmodernity. This essay also aims to illustrate these connections, highlighting Pasolini's unique place in cultural history. His ideas, considered heretical in his time, still possess intriguing semiological and psychoanalytic value. Pasolini's position seems prophetic today, not only concerning the development of semiotics, but also in terms of post-structuralist theory and the ideological implications of the postmodern condition. Recognizing the nuanced interplay between postmodernity and ideology allows for a more comprehensive understanding of the cultural landscape and the enduring influence of Pasolini's cinematic works. So, let's talk about culture. The issue of culture has been at the center of critical and literary critical studies for quite some time now, and nowhere has it been more prominent in the influential form of literary criticism that has come to be known as the New Historicism. The initial work of the New Historicist was rooted in an always implicit but at times explicit critique of other forms of historicism that saw cultures as the expression of the unified worldview of a particular historical period or social group or class. That's relevant because in Pasolini's Salò, we clearly witness an attack against fascist Italy, and moreover, the characters of most films by Pasolini actually are not interesting or don't have a psychological complex value. They're more allegorical, carrying names such as the president or the duke or the father, the daughter. Pasolini's critique of fascist Italy aligns with the principles of New Historicism because the film can be seen as a subversion of traditional historical narratives that might present a monolithic view of a nation's past. Pasolini offers a fragmented allegorical portrayal that invites viewers to consider the diverse perspectives and power dynamics at play during that dark period of Italian history. By adopting allegorical characterization, Pasolini navigates the complexities of cultural and historical dynamics. What is interesting is the fact that it also implied a critique and even a rejection of psychological and psychoanalytical theories insofar as they saw a particular cultural artifact as the expression or reflection of an individual psyche. According to Michel Foucault, a prominent figure in shaping cultural discourses within humanities and cultural studies, psychoanalysis and ethnology hold a unique influential position in our understanding of knowledge. These theories are not privileged because they have better established the foundations of their positivism compared to other human sciences. Rather, they are privileged due to their abundant collection of experiences and concepts, which are invaluable resources for investigating human nature. I know that this specific paragraph is actually very hard to digest and understand, but I'll go a little bit slowly. Now, I'll try to explain to you why bringing up Michel Foucault is relevant in understanding Salò. So, this serves as a perpetual source of dissatisfaction, constantly challenging and questioning established notions in other fields of knowledge. So what Foucault says is that highlights as the enduring importance of psychoanalysis and ethnology as critical and contesting disciplines. That's relevant because we actually find that out in his work, The Order of Things. But how is this relevant to Pasolini? Well, Pasolini, aligning with Foucault's perspective, he directs his critical gaze not only at fascism, but also at the contemporary Italian state and its institution, including the church, media, and political parties. His vehement and satirical condemnation of the Italian national conscience intertwines political and psychosexual repressions. Pasolini orchestrates a tightly controlled and monstrous representation of evil, akin to the meticulous choreography of censorship imposed on the Sad, and especially his book. In this fusion, Pasolini anticipates and mirrors the severe censorship historically accorded to the Sad's controversial writings, underscoring the enduring importance of critical and contesting disciplines like psychoanalysis in the exploration of societal repression and cultural expressions. In this sense, the history of Pasolini's cinema, like his poetry, is full of upheavals and reversals of direction. Pasolini's works showcase an intriguing intersection of postmodern and new historicist approaches, while challenging simplistic historical narratives, as is the case of postmodernism. He simultaneously delves into historical and cultural tensions, just like new historicism. This intersection enriches the viewing experience, compelling audiences to actively engage with the films, interpreting them in light of their historical and cultural knowledge. The emphasis of postmodernism on fragmented narratives, multiple perspectives, and deconstruction of established systems introduce complexities to the communication processes between cultural productions and reality, particularly in social practice and the embodiment of self. This sentiment is echoed in Pasolini's assertion in Heretical Empiricism, and he says that reality is a language of pragmatic dialogue between us and objects, including our body. Nothing is ever rigidly monosemic. On the contrary, almost everything is enigmatic because it is potentially polysemic. In this view, Pasolini underscores the dynamic and multifaceted nature of reality, framing it as a form of language that engages in a pragmatic dialogue with individuals and objects, extending to include the body itself. The rejection of rigid monosemy implies that nothing in this dialogue has a singular fixed meaning. Instead, Pasolini suggests that nearly everything carries an enigmatic quality, opens to a range of potential meanings or interpretations, an inherent polysemy. This aligns with postmodernist ideas that challenge the notion of a singular, universally understood reality or truth. So, his fascination with reality and truth extends into a dialectical relationship with illusion. Within the postmodern context, the boundaries between reality and illusion become porous, challenging traditional distinction. Pasolini's exploration may be seen as an attempt to navigate this fluid interplay, where the reality he obsessively pursued is entangled with perception and constructed narratives. Pasolini's treatment of truth, as both fetishized and challenged, reveals a complex relationship with the concept. This fetishization suggests a reverence for truth, perhaps as an ideal, while the act of challenging it signifies a willingness to confront and question established norms. This duality underscores Pasolini's dynamic engagement with truth within the postmodern milieu. Jameson regards postmodernism as a reaction to the emergence of purely capitalistic realm, lamenting the erasure of crucial roles and definitions amidst elite culture, an intellectually narrowing setting tyrannized by fetishism, kitsch, and schlock. So Jameson focuses on the duplicity conceived by means of the inmost truth residing in the newly arising social stratum, i.e. the capitalistic one, which in his view carves the framework for postmodernism. The duplicity in question is generated by what Jameson labels pastiche and schizophrenia. This critique of capitalism is relevant in Pasolini's Salò, because as much as Pasolini hated the fascism of the 1940s, he was not making the film to comment specifically on fascism. He made a film to hold a mirror to the contemporary world and show just how disgusting he thought it was. He was not concerned with the fascism of Il Duce, but with what he called a kind of neo-fascism, which stripped away traditional cultures, gave corporations way too much money and control, and made people slaves to consumerism. Essentially, he was describing what we now know as globalism. An episode relevant to this idea is the infamous excrement eating scenes, which make a little more sense. This whole sequence stands out as perhaps the hardest to watch sequence in the film. Its images are visceral, disturbing, but it serves as a metaphor for fast food, for processed, unnatural food, forced upon the world, growing like a disease. We can also expand the meaning of these scenes from not just fast food to all of popular mass-produced culture. The elites enjoy force-feeding their subjects under unrivaled authority. They gladly humiliate the tortured with more waste on which to feast. In Salò, the four libertines representing powerful figures aligned with fascist institutions are symbols of authority and control. However, Pasolini does not depict them as Übermensch figures. Instead, they embody a corrupt form of power, lacking the creative and life-affirming qualities that Nietzsche associated with the overman, the overlord, the Übermensch, I guess. The absence of Übermensch figures in the film can be seen in the lack of resistance against the oppressive regime. Nietzsche's concept will embody a rebellious spirit against the decadence and moral decay depicted in the film. Instead, Salò portrays a world where individuals are subjugated and stripped of their autonomy. Pasolini paints these men as impotent. Their desire to sink into deeper and darker degeneracy is not just because they wish to enact their control over the young people who were abducted and brought in front of them, but also because that's the only way they can be stimulated. Breaking taboo is an addiction to them. After one taboo loses its allure, they need to push the boundaries further, and the last vice, the last taboo that is left unbroken, is that of murder. Hence, the last part of the film is called Circle of Blood. I'll bring up Lyotard because he defines postmodernism as that which in the modern puts forward the unpresentable in presentation itself, that which denies itself. So Lyotard argues that there was a strong emphasis on rationality, progress, and the belief that knowledge and truth could be universally established and presented objectively. However, in the postmodern condition, Lyotard suggests that there is a shift away from this notion. The unpresentable refers to elements that resist or defy straightforward representation, categorization, or explanation within the framework of traditional modernist thinking. These elements challenge the established norms, values, and narratives that seek to provide a unified and coherent account of reality. Pasolini's depiction of prisoners in Salò exemplifies the postmodern deconstruction of identity. the libertines strip away individuality, reducing the prisoners to interchangeable objects. During the scene in which the four representatives of power are inspecting the prisoners, a scene where gender and individual features become indistinguishable, the film explores the fragmentation of identity, challenging conventional notions of humanity. The interplay between lowbrow and highbrow culture emerges as a distinct theme within postmodernism, showcasing the movement's rejection of fixed categories, emphasis on cultural hybridity and playful engagement with established norms. As artists and thinkers navigate the blurred boundaries between high and low culture, they contribute to a more inclusive and dynamic cultural landscape. The postmodern interaction between lowbrow and highbrow serves not only as a reflection of contemporary society, but also as a catalyst for re-evaluating our preconceived notions of artistic value and cultural hierarchies. This conflict between high and low characterizes critical discourses surrounding the film, particularly exemplified in Salò. So Pasolini summarizes the film's message as a commentary on the commodification of the body, serving as a sexual metaphor for the exploitative relationship between the powerful and the exploited. For the explicit content in Salò to be accepted within the highbrow realm, Pasolini's allegorical explanation must justify the on-screen images. However, the metaphorical approach becomes a point of contention, which critics either denouncing the political allegory or robustly defending its legitimacy. Salò experiences a critical reception culture that polarizes opinions, isolating and reproducing its most transgressive characteristics. You might have heard or seen this movie either in the Criterion channel, somewhere where, I don't know, let's say highbrow people are currently watching that type of content, or however, you might have heard about this movie from, I don't know, let's say IMDb's list of very, very disgusting, very sick movies of all time. So the film's placement on such lists removes it from the contested highbrow category and firmly positions it within the lowbrow, influencing viewing strategies based on challenging oneself with the sickest and the most vile materials. Consequently, Salò exists in a suspended space between highbrow intellectual symbolism and lowbrow sequences of provocation and disgust. With contradictory dialogues operating within the film's narrative and its reception cultures, Salò shifts between art and exploitation. This intermediate cultural site, where it is both excluded and included within both art and exploitation models, raises intriguing questions about how the film is presented in the market sphere and which social and cinematic signifiers shape its public perception. Well, that was the analysis on Salò. I would also like to add that ultimately Pasolini's cinema emerges as a dynamic and multifaceted exploration of language, semiotics, psychoanalysis, and postmodern thought. I love Salò. I absolutely love Teorema, another movie with deep allegorical meanings as well. So I do believe that his cinematic legacy not only challenges conventional storytelling, but also serves as a rich tapestry of cultural critique. It invites audiences to navigate the complexities of the postmodern and post-structuralist landscape. By acknowledging the nuanced interplay between postmodernity, ideology, cultural representations, Pasolini's works continue to offer a provocative medium or lens through which to interpret the ever-evolving cultural and cinematic landscape. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'll probably make another analysis in like 3 years, so I hope you do enjoy this one.